was my pleasure to meet Itir actually in February when I was here on holiday visiting my sister. We met here and found out we were about to spend the next 5 months together on the Dharma Life course at a retreat centre in England. So I've had the opportunity to live very closely with Itir. In fact, we spent 24 hours a day together for 5 months. We lived together, we ate together, we worked together, we studied together, we practiced together. So a really good opportunity to get to know each other. And some of the qualities that really come out for me about Itir that I love are her positive energy, her sort of fearlessness in her practice, her faith in her practice, and her ability to share that with others. And one thing she really brought to the community, to the group, which was so helpful, is a real courageousness in her communication if there was something difficult going on or if there was something she noticed. And she does have incredible clarity. She notices everything. And she would be able to find a way of saying it, but a way that was light-hearted, where we could laugh and where we could not become too sensitive, where we could really hear what it was that needed to be said or heard. And she really brought that to the group, and it helped us all loosen up and relax and be able to have more of those difficult conversations that you might need to have when you're living so closely with others. I'm sure there's so much more I can say. But just a real delight to have spent 5 months with her, and I'm really excited to hear what she'll be talking about tonight.
Thank you. Oh, it's just what a lovely evening, isn't it? It's just so lovely. I just feel so grateful, and it's really nice to be back actually. We have about half an hour, and I just wanted to kind of talk about the theme of kind of going forth in a Dharma adventure. I want to talk about my last 5 months in the course that we were on with Simone together, to give you a bit of context. And then I want to talk about this in relationship to faith. Shraddha, the Buddhist term Shraddha, which is about trust and confidence in faith. And it isn't a blind faith that you just follow what someone has told you, but it's something that comes from the inside. It's this confidence and trust and open-heartedness. And that's just what kept coming to mind when I was thinking about tonight and what I wanted to talk about. And if I don't get to everything tonight, I think on the 8th of February, there's the part 2 to this talk, so hopefully, if you have any questions and we don't get to it, do come back. So what was this course about? This course is called the Dharma Life course, and it takes place at a place called Adhisthana, which is in the UK. And it's kind of the headquarters of the movement, the Triratna Buddhist movement, which the Melbourne Buddhist Centre is a part of. And there are two communities that live there, a women's community and a men's community, and from time to time, I think once a year often, they will have a Dharma Life course there, which is a group of young people that live and practice there for 5 months. And we were on the Dharma Life course for women that started in July 2017, or mid-July. And it goes for 5 months, and what happens during this time is basically there's 3 kind of main components to this course. I think the most kind of significant and transformative part is community living, right? So you live with 7 other women, you share a room with one other person or 2, you live together, you work together every day, you meditate together, everything is together, which is fantastic. It's so fantastic to be able to do that. So community living is a really big part of all of this. And then you have working together, so there's a sense of right livelihood, there's a sense of contributing in service to the retreat center, and then of course there's Dharma study. So that's a very important element of this whole thing. I wanted to go on this course because I wanted a more intense practice. So I think Vidyatara said to me, be careful what you wish for, intensity. And she was right, it was really, really intense. So that was definitely, I did get what I wished for, but in the most wonderful way possible. I mean, you can imagine, there's very little personal space, if any, and there's little free time. In fact, there was this running joke. You'd say, "I'll do that in my free time," because there is no free time. It's like, no. And there's this kind of intense kind of looking inwards. You look at your own processes, and time again, you just come up against your own habits, and some of these, they're just not very nice, and you want to change them, and there's this pain in that, and this pain of, I really want to change and transform this. But I think that's the first step to the actual transformation. So it's really emotionally intense and rich time. I think what I wanted was, I was thinking about this term, spiritual intimacy. I think that was kind of what I was looking for, the sense of being close to people, in a way that you don't get often if you don't live with them, if you don't work with them, if you're not with them enough, you don't get that sense of spiritual intimacy. So that was kind of what I was looking for, that I didn't have a name for. So there we were, I met Simi here, which was really funny because I was on the door and I said, I hear you're from Cambridge, I'm going to Adhisthana next year. And she's like, me too. And I was like, wow, that's unbelievable, And then we are 8 of us, so we were all around the world. It was a very international course. We had 2 Indian women, a Polish woman, someone from Germany via London, myself, my roommate Zoe from Singapore, Malaysia. So it was very international. So you can imagine, very different cultural backgrounds, very different views on what can we eat at breakfast, and is garlic okay or not, and so all these little things that we had to sort through. But somehow we did, somehow these things didn't matter in a way that they do in everyday life, It didn't matter. I mean, it mattered a little bit, but after a point you realize, Simone coined this term, it's friendship or die, you're at this point. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to hold on to this, this little inkling of annoyance that you have, or are you going to go beyond it? Are you going to look for something that you have in common that is more than your irritation about, should we open the window or not, And believe me, these things become quite important, So, and all of this can't happen unless you're in this really kind of pressure cooker situation where you have to make these decisions and there is nowhere to go. And faith arises in this context. So, and that was, I think, one of the most significant things that this course has given me. I remember the moment I was in Adhisthana, the first week I was there, I was just looking around at people and I just think, there's something different about the people here. There's something different, and it's this sense of spiritual maturity, but how do you know? How do I know that there is spiritual maturity? And it's the sense of people being able to express faith and devotion as a part of their everyday life. It's just the way that the commitment to practice, the commitment to living together, and to serve, for service. It's just a part of everyday life, and that's so tangible. But it's in the little things. It's not in these moments where you're just, wow, it's in the little things of how people value people more than tasks, I'd see this over and over in the work period, people would have all these things they'd have to do. It's a big retreat center, there's all these priorities. But if someone comes with a problem, everything's dropped, because what's important is the person, it's not the task, And this is just a part of the culture, everyday culture there, And these little day-to-day things is what makes it special, It's not the size of the shrine room, even though that's very beautiful, It's something else. So I kind of wanted to share just a few moments, kind of take you on a little, maybe, a bit of a story, and just share a few moments that I've experienced in Adhisthana, just to kind of, in some way, explain this magical world of Adhisthana. It's very difficult to kind of really get to it, but hopefully. And if I can't manage it, there's some photos later on, so that will fill in the rest of the details. I think the first kind of moment where I really felt this was a very significant thing that we were doing was during the first week. The person who organized the whole course, her name is Akasa Jyoti, and she's a young woman, but, her maturity and her, practice of the Dharma just shines through, and she's done the course before. So it was just really helpful having her as someone who was kind of looking after us in a way. And during the first week, she did a lot of ritual. We did lots of ritual, and we had the theme of going forth. And she's very good with ritual. I think the Friday, we did a ritual where she gave us, all of us, some seeds, and she said, take these seeds and plant them somewhere in Adhisthana, and then just forget about them. It's just the symbolic kind of, and it doesn't matter whose seeds you take, it can be somebody else's, but just go and plant them at the wild corner of Adhisthana. It's kind of a sense of going forth. And while we were kind of, in the process of this puja, this kind of devotional ceremony, we had a little reading from Bhante Sangharakshita. Sangharakshita is the founder of this movement. And in that we read out how his story of going forth. So, he decides with his friend that he's going to go forth and he's going to become a monk, and he gets on the robes and he burns his, identification papers and he sells his watch and all these things. So, And in that he says, the morning they got up and they decided they were going to go forth, around every corner they saw these big, big rainbows, and they thought, oh, this is a good sign, everywhere that he said, there's all these rainbows. And we read that and we thought, oh, that's lovely. So that weekend, oh, is that so magical, We all had our little seeds, and we kind of, throughout the weekend, everybody planted their seeds, and there was one person, Amala Shiel, an Indian woman, who had her seeds left, and I think it was Sunday evening or something, and then she went and planted her seed. And then I heard somebody, people kind of, my community being like, oh, come outside, And like, oh, we all went outside, and there were two massive rainbows, a double rainbow, just in front of us, just as we planted the last seed as a community, I mean, what is this about? It's just this sense of there's something really significant happening here, and it's about me and my practice as much as it is about going forth, wearing robes and going forth. It was just this sense of, wait a minute, I think we're also going forth here, It's a personal thing, this practice, this Dharma adventure, It's very, very beautiful. And faith arises when things like this happen, when collectively that what you're doing is really significant, and it means more than just, it's not about me, it's about us practicing together and our intention, and that's just beautiful. And the second memory, that is just magical, I think it was the first month, it was really early on. And the course was so intense that by 8:30, I think I was in bed. I just wanted to go to sleep. I was like, oh, I'm so tired. So it was 8:30, and I was in my pajamas, and I was in bed. And my room is just kind of across the shrine room. So the shrine, it's in the same building, in the same floor. And it's just like maybe not even a minute away from the shrine room. And there I was in bed, and then I could hear this chanting kind of going on to Amitabha. And there was a big retreat on at the moment, so this chanting was, and I could see this chanting getting louder and louder. I can hear it, and I kind of opened my door a little bit, and then I could hear this kind of chanting going all around my room, all the way out to kind of in front of my window. I was like, this is kind of odd, So I got up and I kind of, the curtain, and all these people were looking at me, Because it turns out they were all walking out of the shrine room to gather in front of this, my window, which is next to this beautiful rupa, Panya Paramita. So not my room, actually, And these people are just chanting, and they're just so into it, It's just, and there's all these harmonies, and it's just so beautiful. And there I am, I just quickly close the curtain. But I'm just like, in bed, and I'm just thinking, wow, when does this happen? Like you're just surrounded by this beautiful well-wishing, this calling out to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, It's just so beautiful. I felt like I was held by something that's way bigger than me, or what I can accomplish, And this finished, and at the end of this, they did the transference of merits and self-surrender, and that's a verse that we chant in our devotional practice of puja. And in that, there's a line that says, "May the merit gained in my acting thus go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings." And when they said that, I knew they really felt it. The people, these order members there, when they said that, they felt it, and I thought, this is good. I thought, this is good. I've arrived at the right place. I really had a sense that I've arrived. This is the real deal. Like we're really, these people really are practicing for the benefit of all beings. This group of, 80 order members. And I thought, wow, again, there's something in this that is unfamiliar to me, but it's also very, very familiar. And of course, I think faith has that quality of, what does Bhante say? It's the ultimate in you resonating with what's ultimate in the universe. You know, it really has that sense of there's some sort of communication, isn't there, when something's right, when you know there's a sense of faith and trust in there. And that was, I really felt that in that moment. And I thought, whatever happens in life, there is something in this that can carry me. You know, there's a refuge, really. That was just really beautiful. Ooh, running out of time. Maybe I'll share. Well, there's so many of these memories. It's really great. I think I want to talk a little bit about friendship before we go to the photos. But there's two kind of memories that I want to share about friendship. And one of them, it really took me by surprise. And this is, I think, in friendship, First of all, I didn't realize the significance of friendship, really, this quality of spiritual intimacy, and how transformative that can be. And during this course, we did a lot of checking in, reporting in. I forgot to tell you the program, but it's 7 to 8:30. We'd meditate, 8:30 to 10, free time, which is not free because you probably want to have breakfast or take a shower, or if you want to do any sort of exercise, kind of yoga or whatever really quickly, And then 10 to 1, we'd have study, and then 1 to 2, lunch, 2 to 4, work period, which can be anything from setting up the shrine room or cleaning the bathroom or picking apples. Every day it's different. And then we'd have 4:30 to 6, some more input, which might be more meditation or more study. And then in the evening, we've been going since 7 o'clock. In the evening, we'd have either a devotional practice, or we'd have community night, or we'd have smaller groups in which we'd do confession and all emotional and then we'd go to bed and then so this it's kind of really, really full. But one of the great things about this is you're always in touch with how you're feeling. You're very often in touch with how you're feeling because you're checking in with people, right? And there's a dedicated time in the morning often where you go around and talk about what's alive for you, and this is what I'm struggling with, or this happened, or, I saw this about, X, Y, Z, And often, not often, but sometimes there'd be someone who'd have a story or a problem or an issue that would go on for a while. We all have these kind of things, like maybe blaming someone for something, or things that we hold on to, and they did that, and I just, they shouldn't have done that, and, that's that, and I'm really angry about it, and I'm going to talk about it for weeks, And there's this kind of sense of, you can see that person is really, really suffering, right? They've taken the story on, and from the outside you can see, like, let go of that, you can let go of that. But you can't really talk about it often. Sometimes there are things that are so a part of our everyday life, so much about who we are, that we can't hear it when people say this. Or people don't even say it often, And I just remember this particular person, she was on and on for a very long time, and it was just this, that's hard. And then one day she just turned around and just said, oh yeah, I saw that, and I'm just going to not do that anymore, and the way that she explained it was like, she just saw the whole thing, just like this. And I thought, wow, I just started crying, It was like, this is almost a little miracle, this to be able to change and transform. And I just thought, wow, there's nothing we can't transform. There's absolutely nothing we can't transform. And the faith arises in the Dharma. When we practice, things change, even the things that we think would never change, And you can see that in your friends. That's the beautiful thing about spiritual friendship, You see your friends change, and you see it's possible, and you just keep going. It's a magical thing. It's really a miracle, actually, when you think about it, or if you think of anything that you have changed, in yourself. It's just your heart fills with faith and, well, maybe my heart does, with faith and trust and confidence, There's a sense that you want to keep going. Everything is transformable, which is really lovely, yeah. And I think the last thing I kind of want to talk about is I'd like to rejoice in my friend Simone, and how that helps, and my relationship with Simone, and the impact that's had on me. And I think it's kind of really emotional because Simone's going back to Cambridge next week, and I don't know when I'll see her again. We'll be in touch, obviously, but not in the same way as the course. And a great thing about Simone is that she, when we're parting, she really is able to tell you kind of whispered the truth. We talked about this. She would kind of tell you what you need to hear without any compromise, but in a way that you just can't reject it. You just can't say, but, So, if I'm like, let's say I'm complaining about something, or I'm like, oh, they did this and blah, 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 and, she'd come in and say, well, they just need to be loved. And it's like, oh, yes, don't tell me that, It's just like, you just have to be a bit more loving or a bit more kind, and, you have to understand it from their side. And what if you did give them what they needed, all these little things. It's like, it's true, you hear it and you think, and I think that's true, and you just, the way that you deliver that is just like, yeah, I do want to do that. It's difficult, it's very difficult sometimes, but I do want to do it because I know it's right, and especially this one time, I think it was, or you did it a few times. I have a tendency to kind of be really hard on myself sometimes, I have a sense of like, oh, I'm not practicing enough, or I'm not kind enough, or I'm not this enough, or I'm not that enough, And sometimes, I do unskillful things, And it's good to kind of own that and say, oh, that was unskillful, that was unskillful. But then the next step is, that was unskillful, therefore I'm an awful person, That is in itself is unskillful. That is not a good idea, It's just not helpful. And time again, I'd go to Simone and say, oh, Simone, I said that to that person, and it was really bad, and I probably have failed, and it's not, blah, blah, blah. And then she would turn around and say, yes, maybe that was unskillful, but we love you anyway, And that sense of, oh, wow, that's just, you hear that over and over again, and you start believing that, and you see that your friend has trust and faith in you, and then you're like, oh, yeah. Ultimately, that just opens the heart in such a way that your trust and faith grows, My friend Zoe calls this faith yoga, It hurts a little bit. It's like, you're stretching, it hurts a little bit, but it opens up something that is just ultimately just so much, your life is so much better for it, And it's just these things happen through friendship, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Yeah. Yeah, we have about 10 minutes, and I want to show some photos. But I guess I want to kind of finish off with maybe a little reminder. I had a few memories with Bhante Sangha, actually, my teacher and the founder of this movement, and I think I'll keep them for later. But the last time I saw him, before I left, we were talking about faith, and I said, Bhante, faith is really important, isn't it? And he said, oh yes, faith is very important. Faith is the seed of the spiritual life, he said. And I thought, what does that mean? Faith is the seed of the spiritual life. I think about that very often, and I think there's a sense, it can mean a lot of things, but somehow right now to me what that means is, you plant a seed, going back to our very first kind of going forth, but you can't just forget about it, right? Faith is not an accidental thing that happens to you. Sometimes, yes, it takes you by surprise, but we have to kind of do something about it, right? To have confidence and trust. We have to every now and then check, we have to wash it. We have to put ourselves in conditions that support our faith, right? Our faith arising and our trust in whatever practice we're doing, our Buddhist practice, right? And how do we do that? We kind of have to have a little plan for that, And one way is to be with other people who have faith, yeah? Coming to the center, forming friendships, going on retreat, I don't know, meditating with others, the sense of really spending time with people that have faith, because it's very contagious, because there's a sense of ease in it. And we want to be with people who are at ease and who are happy and who know that if they practice, that is going to have an effect on their life. And that's just the truth, It's just the truth. We practice and it changes us, and you can't really argue with that, So that's one way we can water the seed of faith, and I guess we just can, we can each have a little kind of think about it, how can I be more at ease, and how can I, do I trust that I am practicing enough, do I trust that if I practice, my life will get better, and I will be of benefit to people, I can do something that, whatever I do makes a difference, I guess, right? So we kind of have to remind ourselves of this, I think, from time and time again, because it will make a big difference, in our lives and in the lives of our friends, I think. Yeah. And I can go on and on and on, but I want to show you some photos. Yeah, so thank you very much. Yeah, thanks for coming.